It is an early morning somewhere on this planet. Welcome to Jeroen Douglas Breakfast Brief. Immerse yourself into the fascinating world of gold with Patrick Shine, a French entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience in the precious metals business and passionate about artisanal mining and its people. In this episode, you will discover why governments will not like the tokenization of gold, and you will find out the three big lies of the sector. The fascinating world behind one of the world's most precious metals is about to be revealed to you.
So, Patrick, welcome at my breakfast brief. And how does your breakfast normally look like?
Oh, it's very easy. A lot of coffee because this is my hydrating way of drinking water. And normally I used to eat a croissant or something like that. And I'm actually in Lima in Peru, and I have a nice bakery just downstairs, and the croissants are very good.
Oh, that's good. So you are in a breakfast moment yourself at this moment.
Absolutely. It's 9:30. It's a little bit late for breakfast, but I'm in a coffee moment, and I just had my croissant a few minutes ago.
So enjoy. That sounds good. But normally
Thank
you're
you.
based in France?
Yes, I'm based in France. I'm French. I was raised in France and I've got my companies based in France, but I usually work a lot with artisanal gold so I'm going very often in South America.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit how your passion with gold and then also the small gold mining, how that started?
In fact, after my studies, that was a long time ago because we're looking now at almost 35 years ago and more. I worked in Spain in a gold refinery, and I discovered the world of gold. And the motivation for me in the gold is that you touch everything in the world. Means that you can go in a mine, which can be industrial, so you're in front of an industry. You can go in a mine in the middle of a jungle with conflict around, with communities in the middle of nowhere or in the Amazon or in Africa. And then you have the trading, which is quite also sophisticated. You've got all the financial part. You can go in the central bank. You can go, gold is everywhere in the banking world, in the financial world, in the numismatic world. And you go in the jewelry side, you go in the industry side, you touch everything. And everything that you touch with through gold is quite, this is the fascinating thing of gold. And in fact, gold is at the image of humans. You've got the best and the worst. Voila. And this is what motivated me in gold. Voila.
Already 35 years ago, you were in this more holistic approach. You knew already all the different dimensions of gold are relevant to you.
Yes, because I started dealing with mines. I started dealing with e-scrap dealers at that time. And at the same time, I was going to London to visit our brokers in the LBMA, etc., etc. So you were touching everything and you had to be at the edge of the technology in everything you were touching. So gold is universal. That's all. And it's the universality of gold. It speaks to everybody. I could speak with my grandmother. Look, I'm working in gold. She knows what's it's gold. And you can speak to everybody. It's universal.
Yeah.
Voila. And it's fascinating to the people gold. Why? Because it's the nicest metal. It's yellow and etc. And because I think it's linked to indestructibility. It's destructible, and in the unconsciousness of people, this is something which is eternal. Voila. It's linked to the gods in South America, for example. And you've got the best and you've got the worst also. Voila.
Because indeed, I think I'm an anthropologist by training, so I can relate to the universality component. I think gold virtually in every culture plays an important role, right?
Yes.
In every tradition, every culture, whether it's in the Far East, in South America and Africa, Europe, everywhere. I think it's a very important symbol. Is that correct?
Yes, it's the symbol of the gods. South America, it's the god. You go in the church, everything is golden. You go even the Golden Dome in Jerusalem for the Muslims. You read the Ancient Testament, and you got all of the construction of the temple is about gold. So gold is the gods, the metal of the gods. Okay, and this is something, and this is because of his beauty, his rarity, and because of its indestructibility.
Yeah.
Okay, this is very linked to gold. And then you've got the worst part of the gold. You've got the gold rushes. You've got the conquest of South America. You've got the mines, infernos, etc. The Serra Pelada images, which shocked the world 30 years ago, etc. So you've got what's in the humans, the best and the worst. And in fact, humanity and life is a mix, or it's a balance of both. So it's at the image of men, of humans.
Interesting, isn't it? A metaphor for mankind. Yeah, it's highly interesting. But actually, I can relate to everything you say, but does the world really need gold?
No.
And what for? We don't need gold.
In fact, your question is very important. Why people, we had this discussion a little bit with Bitcoins, okay? Why human put so much value into a yellow metal, okay? Which is fundamentally not strategic to our lives, because plus or minus, let's say 40% of the gold goes back underground in banks' vaults or under mattresses of people, of men, because it's a financial tool. 50% of the gold goes to jewelry. You can live without gold jewels. You can live with other metal, bronze jewels, etc. So it's not strategic. We can live without it. And 10%, let's say, goes to industrial and decorative uses. And the big particularity of gold is that it's indestructible. So since 6,000 years, let's say only 2 or 3% of the gold was lost. Okay. And today you've got 200,000 tons of gold in inventory, in banks, in financial coins, in ingots, in jewelry, in electronics that lies around the world, when the mine production is 3,000 tons. So you've got plus or minus, let's say, 60 years of mine production in stock. And this stock is held by more than 2/3 in the hands of individuals, by jewelry or financial coins or ingots. This is why you cannot control the gold market, because it's not in the hands of banks, or maybe some central banks can influence on it, but it's in the hand of individuals. You cannot corner the gold market.
Interesting. So, Patrick, thank you for this basic information. Very helpful. So you say 200,000 tons of gold is in stock. The globe mines 3,000 tons per year. Yeah. How many more years can we continue to mine 3,000 tons per year until we...
I think it's like other metals. People say you've got 20 years of vision there, but the price of gold will allow us to go deeper, to go to lower grade ores. And I think you've got the deep sea mining, you've got a lot of other, I think we can still mine for 20 years, but the problem is that you don't mine gold for its uses. Okay, a gold miner mines gold and sells the gold into the market. It's money. You mine money, in fact, because gold is money.
It's money mining, yeah.
It's not like copper, where you need a buyer that as long as people will believe more in gold as a currency or as an insurance for the future, there will be gold demand. And this demand is 6,000 years old. Everybody said with the Bitcoin, it will die. It's going again. Yeah. So as long as it will be safer to hold gold than to hold money, which is printable, or you can create money, I think there is future for gold. But you don't mine gold for its industrial use or for its jewelry use. You mine gold because it's money.
So It's very interesting. Patrick, I've lived in Argentina for a while, and that country went bankrupt for a few times. It went in default. So the average people, they say on the street, I don't trust banks at all. So I said to them, why don't you go buying gold? At least you have gold. They say, I don't trust buying gold either, because if I go to the bank and I buy gold, I get a paper saying this paper values half an ounce of gold, and I don't get the gold. So I'm still dependent on the bank. And so I asked them, what do you really trust? Tangible stuff, land, real estate. How do you see this?
I see that it's like money. Money at the beginning was the equivalent of gold, and the gold was held in the central bank.
Yeah,
After that,
yeah.
and then they printed more, okay? And it's exactly the same with gold. People trust gold, which is physical gold. I'm sorry, I prefer, if you have a land in Argentina and there is a revolution, you cannot go out of the country. You can go to Montevideo with your land and sell it. But you can go with your coins or your jewels and you go and you sell it. It's something you can put in your pocket. It's a valuable which is universal. So for me, it's safer to have gold. It's not everything in gold.
Then physical gold, and not a paper that says this paper represents half an ounce of gold. You mean real, the real stuff?
Yeah. And this is where I believe in the tokenization of gold. If you have a system which is strong enough that you can buy and sell gold on your computer, and there is a blockchain that assures you that in a vault of Brinks or in a vault, an independent vault, you have the equivalent of grams of gold there, then this can, I believe, be a second way to popularize and to make it a liquid market, because today it's not a liquid market. You must go to a gold dealer, you must buy it, you must keep it, and when you sell it, you must sell it. So it's not easy. And this is why normally when you buy gold, you keep it 20 or 30 or 40 years, okay? But if you tokenize and you use the technology to make a fiat currency, okay, then it can be a big hit. And I'm sure that if it's a hit, the governments will go against it, exactly like they did when Facebook went with their fiat currency they wanted to launch. And they say, no, you don't launch that. Money is, because then I'm sure that a lot of people will prefer to hold gold than to hold euros or dollars.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So there is a famous economist. I think his name is Nouriel Roubini. He's one of the wizards that predicted the financial crisis, etc. He's like Dr. Doom in the economy land. And he predicted actually that somewhere in 2030 or 35, most probably the United States will go back to the gold standard because they have so much indebtedness. For them, it's the best way to get out of all the debts by declaring illegal the current dollars and come back with a new gold standard related dollars as a way to clean up their debt situation. Is that a realistic approach?
No, for a simple reason, there is not enough gold. It's that the Bretton Woods system, which was the post-World War II system, is not anymore applicable to our systems because the volumes you need are crazy. The fact that you decorrelated the money from gold allows it to boom the economy since the 70s. This is the big boom of the economy. You need more money and you need velocity in the exchanges. And I don't think there is enough gold today, okay, in order to make that. Maybe, and this is why people believed in Bitcoins, because it had a gold effect. It's something that you cannot print. Gold, only the only guy who printed gold was the King Midas. He died of it. Okay, but you cannot print gold. So this is why people believe in gold.
Yeah, no, I can see, and the Bitcoin is in principle endless. Huh?
Yeah, the Bitcoin was number of Bitcoins you can create was finished. Okay, so this is why, okay, you can corrupt the system and people say, okay, the problem might be in the system. But this is what, and in fact, you see it in the luxury goods. Today, a watchmaker or a purse maker his objective is by the time he sells his new product, it costs the double on the second-hand market. It's the gold effect. I
Cool.
prefer to buy a second-hand watch because of the scarcity, or a brand bag that I maybe need 3 years to get it, because I know that as long as I buy it, the day after it worth the double. Why? It's the gold effect.
Yeah. So Patrick,
It's
that's
a-
interesting. Let's now go a bit deeper into the supply chain. That is what connects us, right? You gave us the picture of how the gold world looks like. If we translate that into number of people involved, how big is the universe of gold? How many people are involved in the gold industry? And how much of those are those artisanal and small miners?
It's estimated 18, let's say, in the mining industry. Okay, it's estimated, let's say, 20 million people working directly. Out of that, we can say that 18 millions, 90%, are in artisanal and small-scale mining, which is the small entrepreneurship or the artisanal way of mining. Okay, which is also the way the gold rushes 200 years ago happened in the West. Okay, so it's not so far. It's not a thousand years.
90% of smallholders, how many gold do they mine?
Let's say we use the ratio: 90% of the people produce 10% of the volume, and 10% of the people produce 90% of the volume.
Yeah, so the 90-10 rule.
10 and 15%. So to give you an idea, if you take big player in gold mining, I think it's the second gold miner in the world today. I will not name them. I will not give names. One employee produces 4 kilos of gold per year. Okay. If you go on the artisanal mining side, you can say that one miner in 1 year produces 1 ounces of gold.
Yeah.
So this means that when you buy a kilo of gold from artisanal mining, which is exactly the same gold than from an industrial mine, from recycled gold, for whatever you want, it's exactly because it's a pure element. It's the chemical element. You've got 125 more social people work and social impact behind this kilo than if I buy it into industrial mine. So if you start back when you'd ask me, is gold useless? In today's world, gold for me is not a strategic metal, so we can live without gold. And in a time where mining anyway is environmentally impacting, any mine is impacting. And at the time when you know that you must limit the resources of that world, if you have to stop one part of the mining, you will start with gold. Why? Because gold is much more useless than copper, where you don't have electricity without copper, or by aluminium, you don't have planes or you don't have cars without iron. So you will start to stop gold. So if you stop gold, what happens? That the collateral effect, which is unacceptable today, is that you will have 18 million direct workers, which means that it's maybe 100 million more people, which will not have any more work.
Yeah.
So the only reason today to mine gold is to give work to those 18 million people, making only 10% of that gold. And this is why, personally, 20 years ago, when I started to say, hey, what's behind the gold? And I discovered that because those artisanal small-scale miners were completely invisible, informal. Now they use illegal because, of course, when you're informal, you're not according to the law, even if the law doesn't make you a space, a legal space. And this is why this is the time I started to say, hey, something has to be done. If not, well, mining gold just for what? Creating money. When you, so a lot of countries like in West Africa, for example, needs that big mines in order to have their budget. But at other time, when you see the countries like Mali and Burkina Faso, which are gold miners, industrial gold miners also, and when you see where they are today in terms of governance and in terms of situation, you say, hey, I think that the only reason to mine gold is to give a job to people.
Yeah, that I can understand. Just an in-between thing. Did you hear also that yesterday one of the luckiest guys on Earth found a rock in Australia with, I think it was like
Two
almost
kilos.
3 kilos of pure gold. How, and that was an amateur digger. How big is that chance? I mean, how often does that happen in Peru, for instance?
It's the same chance that to
Win the
win
lottery.
win the lottery. But this is why 18 million people every morning
Go to bed. Yeah,
got the energy to go to work.
yeah, yeah. This gold.
It's that dream. It's that dream.
Dream.
Even industrial miners, it's that dream that makes the energy
Yeah.
in order to make it.
Yeah,
Because being a miner, it's a hard work. In Europe, we stopped mining coal and iron 20 years ago, but the lifespan of a miner in Europe is 10 to 15 years lower than a non-miner. And it's the same all over the world. It's a difficult work at the point that I know France, for example, it was Polish people, Italian people were imported miners because the French didn't want to mine them.
Yeah. No, I see that. I see that. Now, this whole issue of gold fever, that is something that intrigues me. It's also of all cultures, as you say, 18 million people get out of bed every day with this, wow, I'm going to find the lottery today. So I don't know of any other product or any other mining where this is really happening, right?
No. And this is why I always said, if tomorrow I put 10 kilos of gold under the Eiffel Tower, I leave them 1 year there, and I say publicly there is 10 kilos of gold under the garden of Eiffel Tower, you will have 10,000 people with children digging, okay, looking for the gold. Is that it's universal, okay? If gold is speaking to the people, it's the only mineral that is linked to people. Why? Because of the story of gold, because of the indestructibility of gold, and because gold is the metal, is the king of the metals. Okay, and all the mythologies, all the legends are around gold. So gold speaks to the people, and the gold fever, okay, which created the American West, okay, which created the conquistador who was looking for silver and gold, which created a lot of historical economic development, okay, was speaks to the people. Well,
yeah, I can hear you. And now you're also a supporter of fair trade or fair gold, as I've seen on your own website. Actually, it's the opener of your own website, right? So when does gold become really fair? And does it really help this artisanal miner?
In fact, as you've seen, my theory is that gold is not strategic metal. You can live without gold. The only reason gold must be mined is because of the artisanal small-scale mining, which is behind. Okay, this is my analysis. How do you help them? You help them by buying them gold. So, in fact, what happened when we started to apply the fair trade, in 2 words, model to gold? We had invisible miners, which didn't have any existence even in their country, legal existence, who were sometimes not recognized even by their own law. And we needed them to exist. So we say, hey, let's use the fair trade model, which is what? To give power to the consumer, and the consumer will elect, a fair trade, artisanally mined, responsible gold, in order to, and we use that model in order that the miners in their country can go to their own government, says, hey, look, there is people who wants to buy our gold because they prefer to buy our gold because they say it's more responsible.
Yeah.
We'll always remember 2 things. We'll always remember when we made the first, it was in Luxembourg, the fair trade and fair mine coin, okay, for the anniversary of independence of Luxembourg, made of gold, okay, of fair mine and fair trade gold. The miner who was with me to the central bank wanted to buy 5 or 6 coins just to bring them back and to give as a gift to their president and ministers of mine, just to tell them, look, there is people in Europe and central banks who wants our gold and thinks that our gold is more important than industrial gold.
So that's good. That's a good point. The traceability of gold, of course, is an issue. If you are going to melt gold, let's say fair trade gold at the origin with, let's say, conventional gold, so then the traceability is gone, right? What is your view on traceability and fair trade gold? And aren't we just then not paying way too much money for fair trade gold, not because of that the miner gets a better price, but just the simple fact that we isolate the gold from the not fair trade gold?
I will be very, very hard on that. And I will say traceability is for the consumer. Okay? One of the property of gold is that you can lose its traceability very easily. So if you take putting traceability to something that one of its biggest property is untraceability, it's quite antinomic. And traceability is very costly. If I want to bring 1 kilo from a mine in Peru up to the jewelers at the end, when you have 5 or 6 or 7 intermediaries, refiners, the guy making wire, the guy making the part of the jewels, etc., then at the end, it will be very expensive. It obliges double inventory, etc. So at the end, you have a product that can cost a little bit more because it's responsibly mined. Let's say it can cost 6-7% more, but at the end, the product costs 20 to 30% because of the traceability cost and the financial cost. So
then we're not doing the right thing then, huh?
No. And what I said, what is important? The impact on the mine. Okay. So why don't we use the electricity model, the green electricity model? It's too much costly to bring the traceability to the market. Exactly like you can bring electricity from a single point, but then you need a dedicated line. It's costly.
So is that now also the case with fair trade? Because this is what we call the book and claim model, right?
Absolutely.
Is this happening with fair trade now or not?
It's happening with fair mine, which is a cousin, and it's the same business models.
Yeah.
But this is what is happening with fair mine. Don't hassle with the traceability.
No.
What is important is the impact on the mine, and you can have 100% of the impact, 100% of the image to promote it.
Patrick, we agree on that, you and I. I saw the same with soybeans, with oil, palm, and sugarcane. But the point is, if I'm at a wedding and I see 2 people in love marrying, and they want to share fair trade gold rings with each other, I don't think they will feel comfortable when they realize that the gold they are using is not actually coming from those fair and artisanal mines.
But you have to be transparent, okay?
Sure.
You have to be transparent with the consumer. The consumer wants to know that his jewel impacted the mines and the people on the mines. And this is 100% the case. So the only thing you have to, this is a perfect use for what is called recycled gold. Recycled gold is a gold we don't know the origin. So if it's sourced, let's say, with traceability, we know where the gold is coming from, which is in Europe local, because we have more gold than what we produce or what you use. Then you can say, okay, this gold comes from recycled sources, but on top, okay, there is the same book and claim certificate. It had the same impact with the miners. So if you have a clear message to the consumers saying you have something which is acceptable in price because you don't have the cost of the traceability, you have a product which is made of acceptable gold, neutral gold, let's say it's above the mine, local gold, you can say even, which contributes to the local economy. And on top, you have impact on the artisanal mine for the equivalent of grams. So you have a perfect product. You have to be transparent with the consumer.
I see the point. So we're getting 2 more questions to the end of this breakfast brief, Patrick, and I appreciate, of course, everything you tell us, all your expertise and your knowledge on the topic, but your day goes on. 2 more questions, if you allow me. The first one is, what are the 2-3 major headaches in artisanal mining nowadays? And what is your dream, where you want to be in, let's say, 5 years of time? That's the first question.
The biggest headache of artisanal mining is the market exclusion. Okay? The industry decided wrongly, and it's one of the biggest greenwashing, and I would say gold washing issues, that recycled gold is ethical gold. So everybody say, I'm ethical, I use recycled gold. Okay. And this prevented artisanal mining to enter the market. The proof is that when you take the biggest market in the world, which is the London market, less than 1% of the gold entering the market is from artisanal sources. And almost more than 50% is recycled, because according to the standards of the industry, all gold that was already refined can be considered as recycled, which is wrong, because a gold that is re-refined is not recycled. You know why? Gold is not a waste. Have you thrown away gold in your life? No. I throw paper, I throw metal, but I don't throw gold. I just transform gold from one status to the other. So it's wrongly, it's not a waste. Recycling is the change of a waste, and gold is not a waste. So first, this is the biggest greenwashing of the world. The second point is that I'm using recycled gold, so I contribute to circular economy. This is a lie. Why? Because it's not because you reuse existing gold that you will avoid the extraction of the gold. Because gold is not extracted for your product. Gold is extracted for its financial value. So the basis of circular economy doesn't exist. Because it doesn't apply to gold. It applies to other metals. And the third big lie is that, the recycling of gold is almost zero carbon emission. When industrial mine is 30 tons per kilo, or at artisanal responsible underground mine is 5 tons of gold. But this is wrong. The gold could have been in a mine 1 month before. So my dream is that people, consumers, industry, acknowledge that and say, okay, we must work with artisanal and small-scale mining. We know that it will cost more money to integrate artisanal small-scale mining in the supply chain, but if we don't do that, we are irresponsible. Yeah. And today, this is the big challenge of the industry, and this is the big problem of the ASM industry.
It's a wonderful bridge to my last question, Patrick. You're an expert on gold and mining. You're French. So the combination of the two obviously leads me to, and you live in Paris, I understood, or close by, I don't care, leads me to the obvious final question. I think it's now 16 months ahead that we have the Olympic Games in Paris. Can we make the gold medals a fair gold medal? Can that still be done? If the Olympics can show off to the world this statement, wouldn't that be a great boost for our joint mission?
Of course. You know that the gold medals are not in gold, first. The standards of gold medals says the medals must have 6 grams of pure gold. So normally it's silver medals gilded in gold. Okay, this is the small story. But nevertheless, with
the symbol behind it is huge.
No, but it's interesting. Nevertheless, because of the numbers of sports and because of the anti-sport, etc., it's 12 kilos of gold. Okay,
still
12. No. Okay, the TOR, the terms of reference of the French Olympic Paris 2024 went public, and they asked for recycled gold. This is my answer. So I hope that they will have the courage. Artisan, we will always find a sponsor to sponsor the extra cost of having fair trade or fair mine gold to the Olympics. Okay? Because 12 kilos, that's an extra cost of $60,000. So that's okay. So will the Paris Olympic Committee will have the guts and the courage to say, I'm responsible. And being responsible is showing to the world that I can integrate responsible artisanal gold because of the social value, because of the environmental value, which doesn't exist with recycled gold, even if it's consumed. So I think that we must go out of the image of recycled gold, which was imposed by the industry, which is the biggest greenwashing, and I would say gold washing, because what is that a lot of mining gold goes, for example, in Dubai, and after that you see that the Dubai gold comes as recycled gold into the Europe.
So you made
Voilà.
your statement very clear, Patrick. We have a joint mission here to convince the Olympics that we should not go for recycled, but for fair trade, artisanal mined gold. And that would be such a breakthrough if we can manage to do that together.
So if you can help me, we'll make a joint letter to the French Olympic Committee.
Let's try to do that.
Just to tell you, when the International Olympic Committee made the laurels, which is a special trophy that they give every 4 years, is like the Nobel Prize of the Olympics every 4 years, they choose Fairmine Gold to make the trophy.
Oh, they did. Okay.
When the Nobel Committee wanted to use the best gold possible for their peace medal, they used Fairmine Gold. So recycled gold doesn't work. It's not a progress. It's not a progress.
You gave me hope with finishing this interview on a
Wow.
high note. And thank you, Patrick, for your enlightening on the topic. And we will publish it soon. Thank you again.
Thank you very much for your time and for inviting me. And I wish that we can speak again in 5 years and part of the dream or not, or the full dream will come true. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Jeroen Douglas Breakfast Brief. Hope you will follow us for our next episode.